Hi, and welcome to the Business Owner Strategy Forum. Great to see you all again today. And well, can't believe it, but it's actually now December, and this is our 24th forum. So we've had a very rich experience over the last 24 sessions. It started really at the start of COVID. So what we're going to do today is really just talk about where we've been in the journey that we've been on sort of for the last 10 months or so. So as you know, I'm your host, Matt Murphy. Managing Partner of Prime Accounting and Business Advisory. And the reason why we created this forum in the first place was really to connect, share, support, strategize and implement really through these difficult times of COVID. And now that we're hopefully coming out the other end of it, and we've experienced some pretty difficult times, a lot of us, that we're coming through, and we're really at the end of it, or getting close to the end of it, hopefully. And but as we said, this wasn't just about sort of dealing with COVID. This was sort of morphed into an opportunity for us to really showcase some great presenters and also information for people to help them really run thriving businesses. And that's really what we're here to do and to support. So I just wanted to sort of recap today a little bit of really some of the stuff that we've been speaking about for the last 10 months or so. And these are some of the topics that covered. And when I start to look through the list of things that we've really covered across on, it's been quite amazing, actually. And we started, back in sort of March, April. And back then, what we were doing was we wanted to get as much information out as we possibly could to people, especially during uncertain times. So the first topic that we presented on was planning in uncertain times. And that was really good from the perspective of, what do you do when there's uncertainty? And really at the start of COVID, we had no idea what we were in for and what sort of transpired from that. So it was good to sort of set the scenery and get people pretty focused on really what they should be doing specifically in uncertain times. The other thing that we really wanted to get across is, the government stimulus that was actually starting to unfold. So the JobKeeper, the cash flow boost, that sort of stuff, and really educate people around how to access those things. And I've got to tell you, there have been amazing strategies from the government perspective, and I've really seen firsthand how really those packages have helped to support businesses through this difficult time. And they've certainly been welcomed by many businesses in terms of really trying to keep them focused and alive. And so cash flow coming through their organisation to support, the employees that they have got and to get through that. Now, some businesses are still, really relying upon that. And we see that's in place for some businesses through to sort of March next year. And we're obviously planning for beyond that to ensure that businesses continue on to survive and thrive from a cash flow perspective beyond that. The other area that we spoke about was workplace law. And really, once again, very interesting times for us back then and still is today, because a lot of businesses, especially in Victoria, are starting to think about how they get their workers back in place and how do we protect them and support them, how to create workplaces that really do make sure that they're COVID safe and from those point of views, but also, starting to think, well, if there's a new world, how can we actually start to, learn the lessons we've learned in terms of the flexible working model and then embrace those for the future. So that was really interesting in terms of the lawyer that we had speaking, Stephen, around that particular point. One of the other things that we covered off on was the banking support, because that was also another government stimulus to actually get some security around that and to do loans up to $250,000. So that was, once again, we wanted to get more information about that. So we had some presenters from Westpac talking about those sorts of things. And one of the things that's really been top of mind is managing stress. So we had Sarah speak about that, Sarah McCrum, and really, at these unprecedented times with uncertainty, it drives sort of, anxiety and stress and mental health. And we've certainly seen a lot of that over the last 10 months, especially in business. I mean, business is hard enough without sort of, throwing COVID on top, and there's usually a lot of stress associated with that. And then you put COVID on the top of that, and then that becomes even more of a stressful environment for a lot of businesses. So, we wanted to give tips and tricks around sort of helping people to manage stress, and which we did. The other thing that we wanted to really, get people across is the grant funding available, because if we can sort of access government money to support the businesses through this particular period of time, we thought it was really important to give advice around that, which was what we did. The other thing that, there was a real benefit for some businesses in terms of COVID, because they were able to quickly pivot in their businesses and create strategies that were able to take advantage to a degree of the particular situation. And I saw some really creative, really interesting things that businesses were doing, and I wanted to showcase those. So we had Mark Bowe speak about those, and that was really good from the perspective of some of the experiences that we had around that. And, and that provides sort of the momentum and also the inspiration for other businesses to think about, well, what can they be doing differently through these times to actually, thrive through this period. And I've seen some businesses do really, really well in this period of time. So, we wanted to showcase some of those things, which we did. Also presented on leadership in a crisis, because really, that's when strong leadership needs to stand up, especially in times of crisis, and we really did see that. And so, I teach a fair amount about leadership and about business strategy and planning. So wanted to sort of, get people focused on the things that were really important around leadership, and that's something that we spoke about. And obviously we had Jonathan Bayes talk about the economic update, what was actually happening in the economy at that point in time. What do we need to think about and look towards and plan and assess and make decisions around in terms of the economy. So that was great from the perspective of getting understanding there. Business succession planning, very important point around trying to make sure that we are focused not only now, but, what is the future for our businesses. And so, we had some presenters on those particular topics, and one of those was, our very own Tim Bennett, who's, heads up our capital division. And we're really talking about, what are the opportunities to move forward in business, especially given the uncertain times we've got, and how is that going to, potentially become a problematic, or is there a benefit associated with those things in terms of bringing forward plans around succession planning? So it was a good conversation to have. I spoke about planning, from 2021 and beyond, and really starting to think about our business and saying, well, okay, we're going through what we're going through at the moment, but this is a moment in time, and what should we be starting to think about from a longevity perspective and a sustainability in our businesses, and how to actually focus on those things. We also had Ian Brady, who spoke about IT management and security, which is really equally important, especially when we're all deployed into our homes, and the risk of, I suppose, security breaches, because we're not necessarily in a protected environment, is very, very important. And so that was a great conversation around making sure that, we're protecting, our assets of our business in terms of that. Business purpose, clarity, and connection was really important too, to really get focused on around, okay, what is our purpose, what is our clarity and our connection back to the business. So once again, we had Sarah speak about that, and she's really focused on, focusing on the why and why do we do things, and our purpose, and making sure that we're connected back into these things from a business point of view. We also had a gentleman, Matt Bowe, who actually spoke really about from the perspective of bringing workforces back into on-premise again. And he works for a big organisation called Cushman & Wakefield. And really what was great there is he was talking about the sort of the knowledge that he had around international businesses that were really trying to get their large workforces back into the office, sort of post-COVID, and the challenges that presented. And that's really important because we were going to face the same challenges now in other states of Australia, like in Brisbane, our Brisbane office and our Sydney office, they're back in full swing. But we had to be mindful of how we're going to do that. And we learned some lessons from that point of view, which is really, really good. And then we had, a brand creation and communication, Richard, that came in and spoke to us, and he was fantastic to talk to us about, really communicating our brands effectively in the marketplace to give us a point of difference. So our competitive advantage, increases, which means that we're able to secure and win more revenue work for our businesses. So once again, that was a really good conversation around that. Dealing with corporate and financial distress, it's an area that we have to be mindful of, especially through these times. And so, we had some lawyers come in and present, Scott, who came in and present on that particular topic to talk about insolvency and how to protect ourselves if we're concerned about the future of our organisation. So once again, great topic to think about, especially in these times, to protect and support ourselves. Business digital transformation had James Horn, who's the director of Balance Internet, who's one of our clients, who spoke about sort of shifting from sort of, bricks and mortar into more of an online presence. And that's really important, especially when we've seen a lot of businesses pivot through that. And he provided his experience around e-commerce platforms and how to actually sort of put those and build those into businesses and enhance them even more so. We are obviously getting towards the end of financial year. This is now 5 months ago, and we're talking about making sure that we're planning for financial year end. So once again, very focused on those particular areas, and business still goes on, and we still need to do compliance and tax and those sorts of things. So we're just very much focused on what to do for a year end planning point of view, and then starting to think about, well, what is it that we need to plan for the future for businesses? We still have to do forecasts, we still have to do budgets. And so therefore we had a session around, really starting to focus our energy and attention around that sort of type thing. And then I had Paul Gordon, who's also one of our clients from Catalyze, who spoke about better decision making. And really that's what his business is all about, is it helping organisations and people make better decisions through a process. And once again, very important topic when there's times of uncertainty. So that was great. Attracting investment capital, equally another great topic, very much around saying, well, how do we grow our businesses? How do we get capital into our businesses to ensure that we are able to grow those? And we had, presented from Investable, Dan, who can speak about that because he assesses 200 businesses every year to work out which ones that they will invest into from a fund perspective. So once again, that was fantastic. The impacts of COVID and the future of business, had a bit of an update in relation to that. So it was good to sort of, start to think about what is the future of business going to be from the impact of COVID. We also had Steve Marbani from Venture Crowd talk about crowdfunding and startup investment too, which was once again great because, as we said, business still goes on. This is a time to stop and reflect about what you want to get out of business and what you need to fund and how you want to fund it. So once again, that was fantastic. High performance business mindset. So we had a presenter, Eamon from Collective Minds, who spoke about sort of high performance teams and building those and the mindset that goes along with it. So, all these things are great information for us to take away and back into our businesses to be able to support that. And then we had, Brian from US Trade Commission, who is a Victorian representative over there in the US. And Brian was fantastic because he started to talk to us what the landscape was like in the US and the community that is going on over there and what's actually on the ground, what's happening, because for a lot of companies that might be exporting to the US or have reliance upon the US, it was good to get an insight as to how do we continue to do business effectively and how do we promote ourselves over there in an effective and efficient manner, given that, we hear lots of things through the media, and it was great to get a real understanding as to what to do and how to do it and to continue on for our businesses thriving. And then, successful business strategy formula. Once again, I was just presenting on more of this sort of type of information to ensure that people were, focused on continually building and thriving businesses. And that's really what we're focused on there. We had one of our managing directors at Prime, Olivia Long, speak about self-managed super funds, because once again, we saw an uptick in those. A lot of people are actually focused on setting up self-managed super funds through this uncertain time as well. So we wanted to give people information about the benefits associated with setting up the self-managed super fund. Entrepreneur's journey. something that once again I present on a fair bit. So I was talking about, what's the journey from startup through to scale up through to succession and beyond, and really how do you build a thriving business, and what do you need to focus on with regards to technology, with regards to funding opportunities, and then also some of the government packages through R&D and how we can support that. Then achieving business and life aspirations. Obviously, that's something that's really important to do, and we focused on that particular point as well. We gave a federal budget update, which is really, once again, important because a very big stimulus packages that were coming out of that, and really understanding, because they're going to have a big impact upon the future of this country, and really the government are focusing on business to help us get through this particular period of time. And then the last session we had was with Brendan Swift, who's the actual managing director of a law firm called Altus Lawyers, and he spoke to us about thinking more like a lawyer. I know that that's from a business owner's perspective. So some of the tips and tricks around sort of business owners and how to think more like a lawyer. So hopefully that will reduce the amount of stress and pain that goes on when you're going through legal disputes with in your business. So that was once again a great session. So as you can see, we've covered a huge amount of content, had an enormous amount of presenters, and all great quality. I'm super proud about the fact that we were able to bring so much information to people to help them, create and continue on in their thriving business. So today's session, I thought, being the last one for the year, I thought about, this time of year especially, I really want business owners to think about how to stop and reflect, to take stock, to think about what they've achieved and where they're at, especially this year. And I know that we can sometimes get into a negative headspace around saying, well, it was a pretty tough year, it was difficult, and therefore not necessarily want to just move on from it and not stop and reflect about it. Because yes, it's been very difficult for some businesses, and some businesses have certainly, unfortunately, had some pretty serious, dire situations occur, and some businesses haven't survived this, and that's been tragic from my point of view. And it's actually, been something that I've struggled with to see sort of the livelihoods of people, get ripped apart, and the mental health that goes along with that. And that's been something very difficult. But, having said that, I've also seen some things where there's been some wonderful things that have occurred during the year as well. But even the people that have struggled financially, the thing that I think that we should be really celebrating is that, people have started to create new things out of, when they've seen that there's certain dead ends that have occurred in their businesses or in their financial lives. They've actually created new things. And so one of the things I think in the basic form of celebrating is the fact that, we're still all here, and, we've had a tough year, but let's just stop, reflect, and think about planning for next year. And that's what sort of the topic is today, is to think about, the lessons that we've learned, what we can take stock of, what we can celebrate right now, and then, what do we do with that information about planning for the future. So that was kind of what I wanted to do as the last topic for the year, and really go off in a bit of a positive note. So interestingly enough, when I was going through all the content that I've just presented to you around the topics for the year, this is one that I started with back. This is the first slide back in March, when we were talking about coronavirus and what the impact's going to be. And, I don't think, I certainly didn't predict what actually was going to unfold. And, but when I start to think about, okay, well, what did we do back then? Is that this is what we did. We said, okay, well, look, coronavirus is going to have an impact. We didn't know to the extent of what it was going to do, but it actually certainly has had an impact on everybody in some regard. And obviously, it's had an impact in the severest form in the fact that we've had, people dying, and there's not only just the effect of the coronavirus, but there's been a very significant increase in mental health and suicide and all the things that, There've been absolutely tragic statistics from this, and I don't ever want to not count the fact that that's had a massive impact upon people as well, not just from a business point of view, but just in general about how difficult it's been to navigate through the complexity of this. And so, but interesting enough, that when we were actually talking about what's the impact going to be, well, what do you do in uncertain times was the next slide. Really it was about making sure that we looked after people, we looked after ourselves, we looked after each other, we protected and supported them so we could, look after as many lives as we possibly could. And that's fundamentally what the first step was. Gather data, because once again, we didn't know. So the best thing you do in uncertain times is get as much data as you can to ensure that you make great decisions. Cash flow planning, very, very important, because we didn't know really what the future of our businesses are going to be from a revenue point of view and also from a cash collections perspective. We then needed to think about strategy and scenario planning, thinking about what's best, worst, and middle case scenarios in terms of what the future could possibly hold for our businesses. Staying connected and communicate was really important because we're all deployed out into our homes, and we needed to ensure that we still kept up the level of communication we needed to become functional and efficient in our businesses. And then we also need to ensure that we're protecting our assets, especially with the IT security. So the interesting part about this is that when I think about this list is always the same, no matter whether in uncertain times or not, because we don't really know what's going to happen in our businesses or in the economy in the future. So we've got to constantly be considering these things when we're planning. So once again, these are the things that I really want people to focus on when they're reflecting and thinking about the next 12 months. So really, when you're starting to, when you've taken a breath and you've had some fun over, the break and connected with family and stopped thinking about work, hopefully for a period of time, when we're starting to think about next year and we've caught our breath and we're ready to go again, the same theme applies. We need to be thinking about cash flow, our people, our clients, our customers, our suppliers, the IT element of it. So going back to that first ever presentation, nothing's really changed from that point of view. I also want to reflect on leadership. I've seen some amazing, strong leaders emerge out of what we've actually, seen. And the best businesses are usually led by the best leaders, and there's just no secret in relation to that sort of type thing. So that was really, I think, from a reflection point of view, and if you're thinking from a personal perspective, how did you lead in this period of time, regardless of what the outcome was? How did you look after your team? How did you sort of continue to look after yourself and lead others? I think was something to really reflect on and celebrate, and then work out, well, what can I do differently next year to become a better leader? I think that's part of the reflection for that too. So, we wanted to make sure we're going to continually look after our people, and our people, once again, they are our biggest asset. Okay, asset sounds like it's a cold, calculated statement, but really, an asset really is something that of great value, and people in business really is the heartbeat of the organisation. So, once again, we need to reflect and think about our people, looking after them. But I really want people to challenge themselves around, well, how can we actually learn the lessons from, COVID, and how can we create workplaces that are going to provide people all the things they want to achieve in their careers, but also achieving their lives. So that flexibility between home and work, hopefully, will then provide us with a greater opportunity to have it all, meaning, have a great career, but also ensure that we're balancing our work-life relationships as well. So I think it's important for us to really bend our minds a bit in relation to that. Cash flow is always an issue in businesses, and I talk about the cash flow runway a lot. As how much money do you have for what period of time to ensure that whatever strategy you've got in place, you're able to implement. So once again, this is something we're going to talk about today, is about thinking, reflecting and thinking about the Reforecast. So I was talking to a client of mine the other day, and I remember doing their budgets back in June. And that was obviously right in the heart of COVID, and we were planning for different scenarios, thinking about, well, okay, well, are we going to be back at work in September? You know, how long's the lockdown going to occur for? And so you're making a whole heap of assumptions. Now we've got more data and knowledge because we've seen, you know, what's transpired, and we've got a little bit more certainty around what the future looks like. So this is why it's such a great time to reforecast. And scenario plan, you know, I joked about having a crystal ball. It'd be great to have a crystal ball to predict the future, or to know about the future, so then we can actually, you know, have a lot more certainty. But unfortunately, I haven't come across one yet. But so therefore, we've always got to strategize and be creative and having different plans. So that's something also to think about. And once again, you know, we spoke about staying connected and communicating. That still exists. And I think that the challenge for us moving forward as business owners in business is, as I said before, trying to ensure that our teams have the flexibility, but then also have the ability to stay connected. And that's something that is going to become more and more of a theme and a thing for us to do so, because the best businesses, I believe, that are going to attract the best talent are going to have this very well focused and have a great plan around it. Make sure you've got your security sort of still in order and thinking about that. So it's time to really, as I said before, it's time to reflect and assess. And I think that, you know, from the perspective of, you know, take stock. It's December. You know, we're hopefully winding, you know, to the end of the year. Hopefully having a break, and really getting focused on, you know, enjoying the year that we had to a degree as much as we possibly can. Some of us, as I said before, just want to move on from it and forget about it and then reset. I still think it's important to learn the lessons of what we learned to make our businesses stronger and better. And so very important to do so. And when you're going through that process, I still think this is one of the most important things to think about. And this is about the reasons why you went in business in the first place, because it's challenging, as we know. But we did it for a reason. There's motivations, and there's continually the motivations for us to stay in business. And, you know, we've spoken about this before in terms of the business dream. And these are the 6 reasons why people go into business and then stay in business. And the financial security independence is usually the first one, or the main one, because people need to obviously earn money and live, and that's important. Now, once they've achieved that goal, then there's usually other motivations that will keep them in business, and they might be creative entrepreneurial flair. They like to build things, pursuit of excellence. They think they can do it better. Work-life balance, control over destiny, and creation of a legacy. And so it's really important to focus your attention on these things when you've got time to reflect, to see whether you're achieving the things that you wanted to achieve of the dream of going into business in the first place. So, you know, use this as a bit of a reflection and a formula. And that's what I want to talk about today, is to give you a bit of a framework to then work out, okay, how do I actually think about my business moving forward? How am I going to strategize? How am I going to get best out of it? How am I going to enjoy my business where it thrives? Because, as we've said before, this is the ultimate goal: doing what you want, when you want, in the manner you want, with whom you want. Now, some people call that retirement. I just call that a great life. And I think that, you know, the people that have actually focused on their attention on these things are usually having the best lives. And, you know, I know people that are in business that are achieving some or all of these things and rate themselves fairly highly in it. Do the exercise, sit down and actually think about how much you're achieving these particular categories. And if you're not, then what can you do to ensure that you actually can achieve, you know, a greater a life in regards to these particular points? Because this is the point. Okay, have you fully achieved your dream? Is your business by design, this is a theme that we have in a workshop that I put together over the years, and I've probably had, you know, hundreds of businesses go through this particular workshop and program to really get connected back into your business, to ensure that, you know, you're living the business dream of what you set out to achieve. And really, when people are connected with their business and they're very focused on their dream and they go after it, they typically have a better business and a better business life, and usually a better, which means a better family life too. So once again, I'm challenging people when they've got the opportunity to sit and reflect over that period of time, over the break, to really start to assess what's going on with their business, what's going on in their business life, and what's going on with them, and whether they're actually achieving the things that they want to achieve. So usually from that, plans will come. And you can focus on, certain aspects of it. What does your business life look like? How many days a week are you working? What's your, are you enjoying sort of being in the office or being in the workshop or wherever your workplace is, or at home? What sort of profit do you want to have coming out of your business, and the cash and the value associated with it, the products and services you'll offer, your culture, your clients, really designing the business to make it something that's simply enjoyable. So your business life's really important. How do you want to be in business as a business owner? And so therefore the business is not sort of controlling you, but you're controlling your life inside the business. And it's really important to focus on those things, and that could be around just sort of time, but it also could be in terms of what type of work you're actually doing. So strategy's massively important. Strategy sort of is the map, as we said before. Vision's a destination, strategy is the map. So once again, really be clear about what outcome you want in terms of the destination from your business perspective. And then once you've actually determined what your business perspective is going to be, what's the strategy that you're actually going to get there? So the map, effectively. And so, that's really important to focus on those things. You've seen this before in some of our previous sessions. This is a good tool to use, when you're reflecting about, where you want to go to and how you want to get there and what you want to achieve. And so we typically use this one-page strategic plan to do so. So once again, use whatever tool works for you, and we're happy to share this information with you. But really, at the end of the day, what we want to do is provide you with the opportunity to focus your energy and attention and really design the business that's going to be the most thriving business for you. When you're thinking about planning for this year and beyond, that's coming, this is, once again, we're now at the stage where we can reforecast, okay? So as I said before, we were going in some uncertain times, and we're still in uncertain times now. And I think there will always be that'll be probably the constant normal, that there'll never be certain times. And I don't think in history there's ever been that anyway. But, I think in certain periods of the world, there's times where there's more uncertainty than there's certainty. And this is probably one of them. Now, we can only forecast based on data and information that we have, and therefore we have to make assumptions. So uncertain times, there's an element of science and an element of art in terms of reforecasting. So science is the data and really reflecting upon what we can achieve based on what history said that we can achieve. And then the art form is really predicting the future and starting to get creative around how do we actually ensure that we're able to present creative strategies, or what strategy we're going to put in place to ensure that we can actually get to where we want to get to. And so when we're forecasting, we're doing budgets, okay, and we're thinking about cash flow forecast. And so we spoke a lot this year around, when you're doing forecast, to do a top-down, bottom-up approach, meaning that you start with what you want to achieve from a revenue line, and then you actually put some costs associated with that line to achieve that particular revenue line to get a profit. Now, if that profit is not sufficient, then what we need to do is then go back up and go from the bottom up to say, okay, well, what can we do from, if we want to increase our profit from, say, $500,000 to $1 million a year, for example, what do we need to do to actually get that? And then once again, you're moving up through the ranks to get to back up to revenue again, to say, well, what do we need to do to achieve these? And this is where revenue intersects with sales and marketing. So what are the sales and marketing strategies you're going to put in place that is actually going to present or provide you with the number of revenue that you need to get to ensure that that profit turns up? And so this is where, once again, making sure that whatever you're doing, from whatever number you're putting down from a revenue point of view, has a strategy behind it and has multiple strategies. So this is really, really important. And then the final point about this is about the basic indicators, about knowing your numbers. So in business, as you know, there's only three ways to grow your business, which is increase the number of customers that you've got, increase the average value, average transaction value, and increase the number of transactions per year. So once again, when you're actually doing the forecasting, this is a science element of it. This is when you start to put some data in place from history, but then also what strategy you put in place to ensure that you're increasing every aspect of those particular things. And it comes back to this sales quadrant. I don't know how many, I think probably nearly every week at least, I'll be talking about this particular sales quadrant around the easiest to hardest ways to grow your business. So when you're reforecasting and you're thinking about next year, always come back to this quadrant, making sure that you're selling it's the easiest to hardest way to grow your business. Easiest way to grow your business, make sure that every one of your customers is aware of every product that you sell, because if they're not aware of them, they're not buying them, there's a great opportunity for you to increase revenue without doing too much. It's just by having conversations with your customers and clients, which doesn't cost you any money, which is great, but also, it's a very simple form because clients and customers already know you, like you, trust you, so they're more likely to buy more product from you. The next easiest way is to develop new products to existing customers. And in COVID, we're seeing a number of businesses pivot where they created new products that were in line with COVID and solving problems there, and they sold those to existing customers because they already had the clients and the customers and the trust there. So once again, think about that from a strategic point of view. And then the third way to grow your business is going and getting new customers. Okay, and so that's all about sales and marketing, and what strategies we're going to put in place in relation to that. So once again, focus on those particular things. And then the fourth way, really, I see as a new business, it's kind of new products to new customers. So, you're creating a new business from that point of view. So I think there's enough to do in box 1, 2, and 3 before we get to 4. And once again, when you're thinking about, when you're reforecast based on this basis. And then from there, one of the sessions we went through the growth equation, because the formula sitting here is all about customers by retention rate, by the number of new leads and conversions coming through of new customers, the numbers of times they buy from you from a year, the average transaction value, which is going back to the 3 ways to grow your business, to then work out what your annual sales are going to be. So, we went through this particular session where we spoke about, by doing little things in each one of those orange boxes, which are activities, we get an amazing result, and that amazing result uplift of revenue to then have a significant increase in profit, and also the valuation of the business. So from the perspective of really focusing your energy and attention on things that you can control and manage, and therefore activities that you can do. It's very much activity based, and that's what really I'm encouraging everybody to do once they've had the time to stop and reflect, is to really start to think about, okay, what things am I going to do in my business differently next year that's going to get a better result, and a result that's going to get me closer to what I'm actually ultimately trying to achieve. And this is really the 4 major areas of our business: in marketing, selling, delivering, and servicing. Really to make sure that a prospect turns up, to turn him into a customer, to turn him into a repeat customer, being a client, and then into a raving fan, because they will then produce more prospects to turn up to your door. And really, each one of those particular boxes. Okay, this is once again a great slide for people to sit and reflect on each area of their business and how they're going with that. And, thinking about the impact experience, for example, in delivering to your client, and how good is it, and how could it be if you changed it the following year? Or what's your post-purchase and your retention rate sort of type strategy in terms of taking somebody who is a repeat customer into an absolute raving fan that will be talking about your business at dinner parties and barbecues and, out and about, because they're such advocates for you. And how do you attract new customers in terms of how good your branding, how good's your sales process and your lead generation and your conversion rates. All these things are really, really important for you to focus on. And every one of those becomes an activity that will drive a result and a better result for you in 2021 and beyond. So just really wanted to recap, as I said, the year as we've done. Really encourage you to go back and have a look at some of those sessions that we've got. We've got them listed on our blog page, the Business Owners Forum on our website on primefinancial.com.au, and can encourage you to do it because it was great for me to actually go back and look at the content, the videos, and the presenters, because it helps to push things from the back of your mind to the front of your mind to go and actually do something with. So probably my final message to everyone for the year is, congratulations on getting through another year, albeit that I'm sure that some of us are scarred by it and some of us have struggled with it and some of us have thrived through it and some of us have sort of muddled our way through. But regardless of what category you find yourself in, just celebrate the fact that we're here, and we've got opportunities to sort of sit, reflect, and think about the future and connect with our friends and families through this period of time. So I'm a big one for really encouraging people to stop and reflect and celebrate. Really encourage people to relax, and it's been a stressful year. I mean, the amount of stress that's been in our business and in our clients' businesses and the uncertainty and the anxiety, and it's been really tough for a lot of people, and really encourage people just to stop and relax and I know it's obvious, these are obvious points to make, but sometimes we just fail to do that, and we fail to give ourselves permission to do it. So really encouraging people to do that. Once you've had the time to celebrate and relax, time to start to strategize. Well, what does the future look like? Going back to the formulas that we just spoke about then, the framework, the structures. What do I want to achieve in this business? Where do I want to go? And then once you've actually started to strategize, plan the how are we going to do it? And then obviously the final part of that is to implement, how we're going to implement the strategies and the plans that we've got in place. And really, that's what we're here for, and that's why I do what I do, is because I love helping businesses achieve their goals and business owners achieve their goals and aspirations and their dreams. And so from my perspective, I'm just really pleased that we're being able to be in business and do what we do to support, our clients and our business owners and our businesses and the professionals that sit around us and our team. And I've got a lot to be thankful for and celebrate too, in terms of the wonderful people that are in our business and that support the business community at large in Australia and also internationally. And I wanted to take this time to thank everybody that's in my team that bring you this information and also that support our clients and support each other, and also just thank also all of our wonderful clients and wonderful people that we're associated with. And I'm very grateful and thankful and celebrate the fact that we're in a privileged position to support lots of people and see and help them achieve their goals and aspirations. So very much very appreciative of that, and equally looking forward to helping many more businesses strategize, plan, implement, so they achieve their goals and aspirations and live the best life that they can live. So really looking forward to another great year together, and and we'll come back in the new year also with a whole lot more new content and new speakers, and looking forward to presenting that to you in 2021. But in the meantime, have a great break and look forward to seeing you then. Thanks.